Hi, everyone. This is Nicole Rivera, and this is the Stop Writing Alone podcast for writers who are looking for their writing community. I know you want to find readers for your work, but I think your first step is to connect with other writers. That's what we're going to do here in the Stop Writing Alone podcast. We'll do writing prompts and other writing group activities, discover online writing communities, learn how to find local writing groups, or how to make your own. Join us as we explore, learn, and write. Hi, this is Nicole Rivera, and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast. I've mentioned the NYC Midnight Writing Competition on this podcast before. In fact, I've done an entire episode running through my process for writing a story for NYC Midnight. So, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But today I want to talk about, the results that I just got from them tonight. So, back in May, there was the NYC Midnight Microfiction competition, because they do all different types of challenges throughout the year. They do microfiction, flash fiction, short story. They do screenplays. I think they have two different types of screenplays. I'm not sure. I've never done the screenplay competitions, but I've participated in pretty much every version of short fiction competition that they offer. And this is for years now. The first time I heard about the NYC Midnight competition was from my co-organizer in the Staten Island Writers Group, Nancy Canoe, who I did interview here on Stop Writing Alone. I'll put a link to that episode also if you haven't heard it. But way back in the day, Nancy was like, I found this competition. It's kind of cool. They give you like a limited amount of time. They give you a prompt. And the neat thing is that they give you pretty good feedback. And at that time in my writing, the only place I was getting feedback was from Nancy. Nancy and maybe, a couple of writers here and there that wouldn't consistently come to our critique meetings. So I was thinking, this is great. What an opportunity for me to get feedback from people who, deem themselves writing competition judges. And I threw my hat in. And honestly, that has been the great value of that competition for me. I never even looked at what the prizes were that you could potentially win, because I knew I wasn't at that place in my writing where I could aspire to winning such a large competition. I mean, it's just an immensely popular competition. However, the feedback that I was getting was what I was basically paying for. Is paying for the opportunity to write on a deadline, to write to a prompt, and to get feedback on that writing pretty quickly. It's not like overnight. I wrote this microfiction story in the middle of May, and now we are in July, and we got the feedback. Well, we didn't get feedback yet. We got the results of who is moving on to round 2. And, tomorrow, the next day, we'll get our feedback, because the people that are going on to round 2 will be writing a story Friday night. So they always try to get the feedback back to people before them. So I'm really happy to say that for this competition, I am going to round 2. And this isn't the first time this happened to me. I did go to round 2 before with NYC Midnight for one of my short stories. However, this is the first time that a story of mine ranked first place ever. Like, not just NYC Midnight, ever. I've never received like a first place thing for writing. I don't really enter that many things that have rankings like that. So perhaps that's not saying much. However, I was jumping around a bit tonight when I got that information, because this was a story that when I wrote it, I loved it. I felt really proud of it. And I felt fairly confident that it would move me to round 2. So I was in a space of feeling that it was a good story And that feeling was validated, not only that it was good enough to get me to round 2, but it was the top in my group. This is all to say that I am a completely different writer than I was when I first entered this competition. And I'm saying this because I know many, many people did not move on to round 2. I know many people received their results and aren't satisfied with what they received. And I just want to speak to you. If that is you right now, whether it's NYC Midnight or any other type of writing competition or submission that you have participated in, and you're at the point of asking, what am I doing this for if I keep getting crickets, at the end of this? I want to say keep going. And I want to say use this opportunity to think about what you want to do next. So, like I said, when I started this particular competition, my expectations were real low. I never really dreamt that I would ever get that type of, getting into round 2 or whatever when I first started. So I never really got that sinking feeling that I think some people are getting, simply because of where I knew I was as a writer. When we begin, we are not masters. There's this really great video on Vimeo of Ira. It's a quote from Ira Glass that they animated, because I think he was just talking on an audio interview, either his podcast or someone else's, about where we are when we begin any type of creative endeavor and why it feels like we're not doing fantastic. In fact, rather than me ramble on and just destroy it, I'm just going to play the quote for you.
Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap that for the first couple of years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit. And the thing I would just say to you with all my heart is that most everybody I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste. They could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it felt short. It didn't have this special thing that we wanted it to have. And the thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that. And for you to go through it, if you're going through it right now, if you're just getting out of that phase, you got to know it's totally normal. And the most important possible thing you could do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week or every month you know you're going to finish one story. Because it's only by actually going through a volume of work that you're actually going to catch up and close that gap. And the work you're making will be as good as your ambitions. In my case, I took longer to figure out how to do this than anybody I've ever met. It takes a while. It's going to take you a while. It's normal to take a while, and you just have to fight your way through that. Okay?
Okay. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. And I will put the link to the video in the show notes. This way you can refer to it often as I do. Because all of this takes time. And here's the thing. I got first place in the first round of this competition. That just might be it for me. That I might be great. I made it to round 2 and then it all ends from there. My expectations are low. Every single story is its own entity. This particular story ranked high in this particular contest. I have no idea what prompt I'm going to receive on Friday. I have no idea if I'm going to be up to the challenge of that prompt and that deadline. I just don't know, right? So for now, I'm celebrating this win. I know that this Friday is a whole new thing. And I know that I'm learning every single step of the way. For me personally, the thing that has helped me move forward every step of the journey in my writing, in the building of Stop Writing Alone, in really like all aspects of my life, is moving forward, sort of expecting to fail. And I know that sounds really negative, and that's really opposite of who I am. I'm not a negative person at all. But there was a quote that I shared on this podcast a while ago. And I think the episode, I even said, I think the name of the episode was, I Want You to Fail. And it was right at the turn of the new year, because we were talking about New Year's resolutions. And I had shared, my process for making annual goals for myself and how I accomplish them. And I was really worried that I had put forth this, you can't fail attitude. And I was like, whoa, I need to put the brakes on that, because what I really want everyone to understand is that what is going to happen is that you're going to fail. You're going to fail over and over and over again. And that's how you know you're moving forward, because the only way that you don't fail is if you do nothing. Right? So I can't count how many submissions I've done and heard nothing. I shouldn't say heard nothing, got rejections, or how many contests that I submitted to and did not rank or what have you. But you just fail forward. You just keep failing until you meet your success. And in the interim, you're learning every single step of the way. You just have to keep learning. If you just keep going forward at a level pace and you're not growing from it, well, then that's not going to get you anywhere. And that is, again, I feel like I keep doing commercials for NYC Midnight, but there's probably other contests like this. This is just the one contest that I know. Why I like participating in this contest is because even when I don't make it to the next round, I get feedback that helps me grow. They give you both positive and negative feedback, so I can read the positive feedback and see, what did they like about my writing? What did they like about this story? That's my innate talent. That's the stuff I have to nurture. That's the stuff I have to keep making sure is showing up in my stories. And then what is the stuff that maybe they had questions about, they were confused about, or what are the things that they felt didn't work, and how can I work on that? And it's really funny, actually, in that competition, because a lot of times they're like, I wish you told me more about this person or this world and this and that. And you're like, dude, it was 100-word story. I couldn't do that. But in essence, the message there is I didn't express the story enough. I didn't bring something to life in the words that I had. Perhaps this story wasn't right for that word count, right? I needed to write a different type of story for that word count. Anyway, I believe I addressed all that stuff in the episode about how I write my NYC Midnight stories. But the point is that there is an opportunity for growth when you are getting feedback on your writing. So if you're not participating in this particular competition, and if you're submitting your work to places where you're not receiving feedback, where do you find this growth? Plain and simple. You have to stop writing alone. You have to start working with other writers, other people in the field of writing, and ask them what works about this story, what doesn't work about this story. Be honest with me, because I want to grow. I feel like the show notes are going to be jam-packed, because I'm going to also link to the episode that I have on critiquing, because that's what you really need to do. If you haven't engaged in some real deal critique on your writing, then that's what you need to do. Keep the conversation going. Start working with other writers. Learn and grow. and move forward. Do not give up. Do not quit. I just feel like this particular month, maybe it is, a couple of weeks, there have been lots of different spaces where I am seeing defeat, and one small corner of the writing universe where I'm seeing that happen for many writers is with Kindle Vella. And I mentioned Kindle Vella a couple of episodes ago because one of the writers in the Happy Campers Club, Jackie Dana, was getting ready to put her story together to get it up on Kindle Vella. And she did. Kindle Vella launched last Tuesday. And if you're not familiar with that platform, don't worry. It's not you. It's Amazon. They've done nothing to promote it. But Kindle Vella is a sort of like a platform within the Kindle universe for serialized stories. So you can go and read stories an episode at a time, just kind of like a chapter at a time. They give you every single story. They give you the first 3 episodes for free, and then you would pay tokens to read on from there. And so there's a bunch of authors just like Jackie were there at launch. We're ready to go. They said, I'm going to put my story. I have this great story that's serialized. I'm going to put it up there. I can't wait to see what happens with Kindle Vella. Perhaps this is the place I will find my readers. And because it's such a soft launch, like I said, Amazon's done very little to advertise it to anyone. It's a slow growing space right now, which I think is reasonable for any new platform, that it should be slow and organic in the beginning. It's kind of like almost like a beta stage. And Jackie's, with it, she gets it. She's writing it out. But there are many authors, because I've joined a lot of the Vella groups, because I'm actually writing a story that I believe I'm going to put there. Many writers are wanting to leave already. It's not even, I think it's a week old now. And they're like, that's it, I'm out. It's not successful. I'm not finding, readers aren't finding me. I haven't gotten as many reads as I thought I would. And I'm astonished. At I knew there were going to be writers that would feel that way, but I didn't think it would be such a large conversation in the community. And so if you are one of these Vella writers and you are also thinking, what's the point? Why am I here? I would say give it a little time. Give it some space to breathe. Give readers a chance to find you. So it's really, really interesting to me how quickly people want to throw in the towel in that sort, because I thought everybody came prepared to sort of let their story grow. But I just wanted to, I guess that's what's been on my mind, just seeing that conversation, and then having this experience tonight of a personal success in the NYC Midnight, which I know means that many, many other people are probably feeling otherwise. I just really wanted to say, just keep going. Because if I didn't keep going when I was the one that didn't get, into the second round, which happened for literally years, I would not have received tonight the first place position in my group, because I wouldn't have written that story. And I really like that story. But also, you got to be in it to win it. You got to just stick it out. And you got to give yourself the time to grow. You got to give yourself that time. Like Ira Glass said, you have the taste, you know what's good. And there's one thing about that quote that he doesn't address. And there's this point, and perhaps some of you are there, and perhaps some of the people that are feeling this great defeat are in this window, because there is this point after you notice, like he said in the quote, there are times your stuff isn't as good as your taste is, right? You have this taste, what's good, you're looking at your stuff and you're like, why is my stuff not that good? And we all do that, right? We've all started writing stories and we're like, this is horrible, what's wrong with me? In my mind, it's beautiful, and on the page, it's just not working. And we work and we work and we get better and we get better. And then there is this point where it starts to feel right, and the world doesn't recognize it yet. And I think there's just that's where it gets nitty gritty. It's that's where you can step out and say, I'm liking what I see, but what does the world want? And that is when you have to stop writing alone, when you have to stop asking yourself and you have to start asking others, what is the next step? And that is why, in the whole intro of this podcast, I say it. I know you want readers, but at a certain point, you've got to work with other writers before you can get there. And it's that point. It's that little bridge between the Ira Glass of it all of, I can recognize my stuff is not up to par. And then there's this little space of time where you're feeling really good about your stuff and the world doesn't see it yet. And the answer is, get some people from out there in the world to tell you, what is it? What is it? Because we can't figure that out on our own. So, but don't give up. Do not give up. Keep going. Keep writing. Please. I am enjoying my summer of reading because of so many people that kept going, kept writing, kept sharing their stories and their stuff for me to read. And I can't stop reading, guys. I'm on this book juggle right now of so many books that I'm reading at once. It's bananas. So please do not starve me of your story. I'm going to need to put it into my juggle. Keep going, keep writing. And that's it. I could go on about this for hours and hours. I'm going to cut it off here. I'll just say congratulations to every single person that has submitted anything this week, every single person that received a rejection this week, every single person that's still waiting and wondering, what am I doing this for? Keep going. I love you. You're doing awesome. Congratulations for every single thing you've done to get to this point. And before I head out, I do have one more thing to add to the show notes. Last week, I did a flashback episode because I was feeling cruddy. But it revived my love again for my morning pages. I haven't done them in a really long time. I've gotten back to my morning pages, and it's so... I said it in last week's episode. I say it again. It's like the silliest little thing that makes a huge difference. And it has been making a huge difference for me. But what was really fantastic was the response that I got from listeners about hearing that episode again. For some people, it was hearing it for the first time, and some people were hearing it again. And one person that I want to bring your attention to is Chauncey Stanton. I want to say thank you for writing to me on the Stop Writing Alone website, because Chauncey was so inspired by the episode that they actually wrote a blog post about their process of using this idea of writing the way we do in our morning pages to help us get through our novel writing. So I'm going to put the link right in the show notes, but it's https /Chauncey, that's CHAUNC.biz, BIZ/book-writing-tips/unstuck morning dash pages. Again, I'll put that link in the show notes for you guys, but I read it through and it's a really, really great tips. What I love about the idea is it's very similar to what I do when I'm feeling blocked when I'm novel writing. I do give myself a moment to sort of just brain dump and write through it. But I like that Chance has sort of combined that idea with the parameters of the morning pages. And I do think I am going to really try this out. So I'm not going to steal the whole tip away. I want you to go read the blog post and share it with your writer friends, but also write in the comments to Chance what you think about the process itself. And if you've done anything like it. But thank you so much for reaching out to me. Thank you for being a listener for so long. And thank you to everybody that always reaches out to me in the week as you're listening. You guys know there's so many different ways. You could send me an email. You can do exactly like Chance did. There's a contact page on stopwritingalone.com. I get those emails direct into my inbox. And DMing at Stop Writing Alone on Instagram or on Facebook. And yeah, and then we have that voicemail number, the Stop Writing Alone hotline, that 646-907-9607. And I did promise a call-in episode coming soon, so I will be putting that together. But for now, you can always use that to drop me a message, a question, a comment, whatever it is. I'd love to hear from you guys. But that's it for real this week. Thank you as always for listening.